So Canada lost to Guatemala 4-3 in penalties. Yeah, let's talk about this. I think it's time we talk. So guys, welcome back to The Africans. We do primarily Canadian African type content. We've been following the U20 CONCACAF tournament, qualifying for both the 2024 Olympics in Paris, as well as the 2023 FIFA U20 World Cup happening next year. With Canada's loss in the round of 16, they will not be even sniffing a chance of going to the World Cup, let alone the Olympics. And there's a lot to digest here. There's a lot to break down here. Full disclosure, I wasn't able to see the game, but before we get into that, guys, don't forget, we do primarily Canadian African content, so if you like that type of content, give us a like, a subscribe. If you're Canadian, tell me how you're feeling. If you're in CONCACAF and enjoying seeing Canadian tears, I accept it. We deserve this one. Let us know how you feel, and guys, don't forget to leave us a like, subscribe, and if you'd like to comment, turn on the notification bell so that you know when we drop videos, so you guys get in there and support this channel. The channel overall, guys. So let's get into this conversation and really look at things. I decided to write notes today, not just speak, because low-key I've recorded this like 6 times and it always ends the same way. Just a lot of breathing and sighing, just being like, So let's start off with a little bit more macro here. This is clearly a missed opportunity. It's unfortunate, but this feels like another missed opportunity that we really could have had, thus ending probably a very difficult window for all Canada, soccer, football, however you want to call it. I feel like they had an opportunity to bring here, and not even qualifying for the World Cup or the Olympics means we've taken away the chance for 2 teams, 2 chances for recruitment, 2 chances for competitions, and 2 chances to really get some more exposure on Canadian footballers. And we've lost that by not even making to the semifinals. Now, granted, playing in the semis would have been difficult against Mexico, but you got to be in the game to have a chance to win, and we didn't even reach that game. So, missed opportunity. I think we have to really focus in on just what kind of went wrong from a macro standpoint. I think there are a few things that caught my attention. The first being just roster selection. Now, it's interesting when you look at Canada soccer overall, and I realized something. It's something I do a lot. That my level of excitement comes down to the level of preparation, but the bar has been so low for preparation that if you told me that the Federation was setting up a friendly, I thought, well, a friendly? Yo, let's do this. They got a game practice before we're on our way. So because that, and if you're really honest, you look at it, maybe there were other opportunities that we lost. There's no doubt about that. Maybe some friendlies. The Guatemala window was one option that we lost. We could have had a larger camp. We lost the Iran/Panama/work stoppage friendly, where we could have seen some other players play through that as well. But the interesting thing on missed opportunity to me comes to the idea of, are we preparing properly? One thing, for example, my dad would always say is that if something's important to you, you'll prioritize it. If it's not, don't tell me you didn't have time. And we continuously see that there's a lack of priority with youth tournaments. Now, does that mean that your program is doomed? No, but it does take away the opportunity for a set window of players to really see what they can do. And I think that is the unfortunate aspect. We don't get to see U20s, but more importantly, U23s, that next generation. That was really what I was excited about. The chance to play at the Olympics, where we could have seen that generation that hasn't quite cracked the national team, like the 02s, the 01s. Names like Noble Okello, Jaden Nelson, Ralph Priso, Ayo Akinola. Players like that who fit into that U23 range and could possibly even represent at that level. And I know some of them are probably older, but you're looking for those players. That was a missed opportunity for them. Not to mention another chance to get other players into play, right? Continue the recruiting dual nationals who are playing well. Maybe seeing other players coming through, but we lose that opportunity. That's the first thing that has to be addressed. On the aspect of missed opportunity, preparation kind of comes into this nature where it felt like Biello didn't know his best 11. And it's important to note that in terms of preparation and prioritizing, like I mentioned earlier, during the friendlies, we had Andrew Olivieri who was coaching. But then when it came down to the actual matches, we had Andrew Olivieri coaching. Mauro Biello. And that to me can't go unnoticed. The reality that you have two different sets of eyes dealing with a group. And that's problematic, I think, especially if you're trying to build a little bit of familiarity, camaraderie. Yes, you can have national styles. Yes, you can have maybe the same message, but two coaches aren't identical. There are no two coaches who are identical. They will always have their way of doing things. And maybe they may like and prefer some things over others. So the fact that you had a coach walking into a camp who wasn't familiar with his best 11, we didn't really see the best 11 until really the Guatemala game. And that game was pretty much a lot of missed opportunities. So the fact that we don't, as a federation, still put priorities on actually building and getting that cohesive with the same coach is problematic. And I think if the federation is truly honest and looks at this, we have questions about both coaches. But more importantly, we do need a permanent coach for that level. Whether that's U20, U17, on both the men and the women, someone who can be with those teams and those camps overall. Kind of add to that, I feel like looking at other countries, especially the US and Mexico, youth national teams don't just pop up when there's a camp or there's a tournament coming. They're constantly there, and that goes back to the prioritizing aspect. We aren't keeping them through. I would love to see this group maybe stick together and continue to train and go through and just add more players, see others that you can kind of build with, and still put priorities into having a youth team that's U23, even though you're not going to the Olympics, because that at least keeps more players within the program, and that keeps more, I like food analogies, keeps more plates warm, so when you need them, you at least have a better eye on them. It's not turning it into, oh, what's this? This player, Richie Ennen, is playing well in Moscow, man, but he just can't get through. We haven't had a chance to see him. Have these other teams, or be a little bit more flexible with how you're setting up your friendlies specifically. You can't give your program from youth level to national level a chance to succeed if you're just rolling with the same 23 always, because injuries are going to happen. You need to see your depth. You need to see those aspects of your team. And we didn't see that best 11 for Canada until what we presumed is the Guatemala game, where they played more of that 3-4-1-2 with Catabolo as your 10. I do actually, also on a side note, do ask, do we just not like 10s? Like, that's a whole other conversation for another time. But Catabolo played well, but I feel like we really missed out on the opportunity to see other players. We'll get to players that we liked a little bit later on. Point 3. Man, I don't know what it is, but maybe I still have visions and just images of frustrated national team players in Honduras. But man, those players look frustrated by that Guatemala game. Now, I don't know if that's just them thinking they should have already put a few away, whether that's just opportunities that weren't just falling for them. But man, you saw a level of frustration with them. I won't even call it arrogance, but it's just a level of just, we should be better than this, which is essentially arrogance. I know, just great there, just great. But I've not seen the team so frustrated. And I think it was a boiling point to the point where you had a lot of players, whether it's Justin Smith booting the ball after a foul, Kwesi Poku doing the same thing, which by all accounts for me were the two best players, I think, consistently throughout this tournament. But just seeing their lack of just poise and they looked frustrated in that Guatemala game. But I think ultimately they were also frustrated in this tournament. There were many opportunities you saw where whatever they were trying to set up to do, it was just eventually someone just took the ball and said, you know what? I'm not dealing with this anymore. Whether it was Justin Smith, Rita Zuhir, whether it was Cameroon Habibullah, players were just taking the ball and saying, Lowell Wright would do it and say, you know what? Whatever we're trying to do here is not working. So they would just go try to have a moment of brilliance and it would just be off. Man, speaking of poise, just the final third was missing in this tournament. Strikers weren't getting good service, so it's hard to really evaluate them. At the same time, midfield, you knew when some midfielders weren't on or not. And that was very clear. I think by the second game, we all felt we knew who the best player was, or the best players were. And it's kind of tough to evaluate it that way, but I'm just, man, whatever Bielsa was trying to do, it wasn't working because passes weren't there, which goes back to prioritizing familiarity and just the overall frustration. Right before the Guatemala scores their equalizer, there's 2 automatic rushes coming off, and it's as if they've never played them before, where there's a clear pass that can be made, but then at the same time, there's no player who's making the pass. They decide, I'm just going to take this on my own. And maybe that's the right play, maybe that's not, but it ends in all too familiar, a bad touch, player down, opponents are coming the opposite direction. I do have questions about coaching. I don't think Bielsa or Oliveri are good for this level. Because if you want to look at this in a little bit more totality, look back at U23's Olympic qualifiers. And low key, the thing that I'm interestingly looking at is that Lucas Diaz was there. He's playing at a Sporting, good tournament, on the verge of breaking into that first team. He was nowhere near this team. Now, whether that's the club not releasing him or whether that's just a player just not wanting to come, that is interesting to me. Because it starts a whole conversation in terms of creative midfielders that Canada has access to and how it feels like we're just losing them every other day, right? Flores is gone. Mitrovic feels closer to Serbia than Canada. Lucas Diaz isn't near this U20 after playing in the U23. That to me is interesting and odd. Point number 4. Well, okay, a lot of negativity and stuff, but what actually can we take away from this? A lot of players had moments where they would look really good, right? It's hard to really evaluate the forwards and the strikers specifically because there wasn't good service. The final third in this entire tournament was left wanting, left lacking. But in the midfield, I mean, Justin Smith played well, showed that class, that ability. I mean, he looked a little flustered. It sucks that to me the 2 best players for the tournament for Canada were the 2 players who missed their penalties. It's like, sometimes that's where the coin flips, man. But speaking of other good players, Kwesi Poku had a good tournament on that left side. You saw Guatemala, whether it was Kashan Ferdinand getting the early yellow, but Guatemala wasn't really trying to push towards Kwesi Poku's side. But he showed a lot of good defensive awareness, good positioning, would push up when he had to. He was one of the few players who were actually giving movement. And that's something actually I did mention earlier in one podcast I recorded earlier. They just didn't have movement. It felt like no one knew what they wanted to do, so they were waiting for someone to do something. So when you have that lack of movement, you have frustration. When that frustration builds, then you just have a player who says, you know what? We're just going to go do this on our own. But Kwesi Poku, Justin Smith, I liked what I saw from Lowell Wright, but it's hard to really evaluate him, as well as Thiago Coimbra or Canada. That's disappointing. Like, why can't you have Canada on this kid? Let's be real. Yeah, the sighs come back. Man. Jamie Knight-Lebel had a good game, good tournament as well. I think you can honestly look and say there are players who played well, but then you have to look at what are they asked and tasked to do, because it's really hard to really qualify them. I don't think this is a full indicator of what Canada's talent is, but I think this is a reminder of how much we do bottle it in terms of preparation for tournaments and games. Even if you look at the senior teams, right? The women are about to go to CONCACAFU and played a singular friendly with one team. The US scheduled 2 friendlies with the same team. You're telling me you couldn't get another friendly down somewhere? I don't know. It just feels like this federation just is doing the bare minimum to really prepare for these moments. And sometimes it helps. I mean, we've seen success on the women's side, youth side at least, 2 third-place finishes. But I mean, on that side, we are clearly number 3 in CONCACAF behind US and Mexico, in my opinion. Just based off of performance and just how the players are going. The lack of professional development on the women's side, that's a whole nother conversation. But yes, we need a women's league in Canada. So with all those things said, also highlighting we do have a creative mid issue. What does this mean for us moving forward? I think if we look at this federation, we really need to hold them accountable to how they're preparing the youth and giving them the opportunities to really succeed at this youth level. Winning youth tournaments doesn't mean that you are doing well, nor does it mean that your generation next is well. It means at that level, at that moment, they are performing well. And my perspective of that is very much Ghanaian here. Again, Canadian Ghanaian if you're new to this channel. So I've seen more Ghanaian wonder kids at U20, U17 tournaments just fizzle out and not reach their level of potential. Does that mean I expect that to happen at this level? No. But looking at your age groups and what you can get there, I think you need to continue to give players the opportunity to develop if you are looking to keep them within a national program. And I think for me, the big thing is show us you care and actually put the time in for these levels. Organize actual friendlies. One thing I was watching while this was happening is the WAFU U17s in Africa, where in Ghana, literally they have their regional tournament with countries that are there. And it was free admittance for teams. You're telling me that we can't do camps in Canada and just run friendlies in our country? Invite, whether it's the US, say, hey, yo, Mexico, you guys are here, come on up. Hey, Panama, y'all want to fly up real quick? You guys come up. It's not hard. But I feel like that's always a conversation with Canada Soccer Association. It's not hard, but they just seem to make it harder than it has to be. We need national coaches for youth teams, coaches that are there, and we need to really put the investment into actually having camps that run throughout the year, not just when tournaments are coming, but year round, so that we can continue to see players. So when it comes to tournaments, it's not just, oh, who do we call up? We actually have a solid ledger in terms of players. Now, yes, that means investment, that means money, that means time. Well, right now is an important time in the men's national program. They have a good generation. I won't even go as far to say it's a golden generation. I will say it's a good generation. We have to continue to supplement that and find players who can do that. And you can only do that if you are really doing your best to uncover every stone, but also attaching youth to the proper development they need to reach their highest level. We can't do that if we're just waiting last minute and pulling together a team and saying, let's go through. We're gone. We're past the days of making excuses and saying we didn't have time. We have the time. We just didn't make it a priority. And until we actually make this a priority, especially on the men's side, this is going to be more of the par for the course. So I don't know, guys, you tell me, what do you think? If you're Canadian, how do you feel after this? If you are not Canadian, but enjoy Canadian tears and salt, let me know what you think. I'll take it. I'll take the punishment one way or the other, guys. But this has just been a question from the African, just checking. Thank you for spending the time. I am about to take some much needed time off, so happy long weekend. If you guys are in North America, happy Canada Day to the Canadians. And coming up on Monday, happy 4th of July to the Americans who are watching. But guys, this is the question from the African saying, thank you for the time. And until next time, bye-bye for now. Actually, before I go, I'm just going to say this real quick. I think the final four in this tournament, I think the final two in this tournament are going to be, it's going to be Mexico, Honduras in the final. That's my prediction. So if I'm wrong, well, I'm wrong. Right now we have the battles for either it's going to be Dom Rep or Jamaica playing Mexico or Guatemala. And it's going to be probably Mexico. And my gut says Dom Rep, which means it's going to be Dom Rep losing to Mexico, I believe. And then Honduras at home, taking care of the US, meaning your top four participants for the World Cup will be Dom Rep, Mexico, US, and Honduras. But then the Olympic representation will be Mexico and Honduras. Just had to slip that one in there. Anyways, guys, promise that's the last thing. You guys enjoy your weekend, and bye for now.